time.
A lot of people think just because they are in close proximity with somebody that that person and or those group of people are their peers, and they are not. And I think that's what's really fucking the game up, and that's what got a lot of motherfuckers confused. All right, and I think because of social media and things like that, everybody can be next to everybody. So everybody think they're peers. It's like with the Cardi B and Bia thing. Bia thinking that she's a peer with Cardi is a little crazy to me. I don't give a fuck if they're both in a rap game and both in the same age group. The accomplishments, the ability, the status is completely different. Completely different. They are not peers. That's called proximity. Y'all just so happen to be hunching on the same man. And, you know, whatever. And that's Cardi B's problem, is because, you know, she's allowing these girls to think that she is their peers. And then you be doing it too. You hang out with people who may be in close proximity with you. Y'all may be in the same age group. Y'all may know each other from the past. But you have far exceeded that socioeconomic group. You have went on to accomplish more than a bachelor's degree. You earned 6 figures. You're not in an entry-level position at work. They are. Not saying that you're better than, but those are not your peers. You might be really impressed with that man because he got so much money and he a little bit older and all the things, and you're like, you know, you're super impressed. The reason why you're impressed, baby, is because he's not your peer. He's not your peer. And it's impressive to you because he's not your peer. Let that nigga get around his peers. That ain't impressive. That's why I always tell people, do you know who your peers are? Because that's the test. That's the test. Number one, you can't tell me how to do anything. That's number one. This is my page. This is my content. I run the show. I'm the director. When I start coming on your page and giving you advice, then you can come back here and give me advice, but you're not my peer. So I don't ask you for advice. And number two, the only people who tell you that schooling is something that they should not pursue are people who feel too inadequate to go and pursue it themselves. I'm a huge advocate for education, and I'm going to be a huge advocate for education until the day I die. Yes, school is a system. We live in a system. You're on a system, an IT system. You're on TikTok. That's the system itself. Let it connect. There are a lot of people that tell you don't believe in a system because they're not a part of said system. They couldn't access said system. But they are willing participants for other forms of systems, such as social media, such as weave. You got hair in you got weave in your video. That's a system. You believe in certain systems, just not the ones you don't occupy. Don't come on my page telling me to do nothing. You can't check me. You're not my peer. And snobby, I don't care about other people's perceptions of me. You think I'm snobby. You perceive me to be better. You perceive that. That's your perception, your inner conflict, and that's your insecurity. How you perceive me don't pay my bills or make me anything. But I'm addressing it because a lot of people on the internet will tell you that school doesn't matter and that you can condense all your knowledge into what, YouTube? You cannot. People need to go to school. It's super important for Black and brown women to be educated, and it's super important for us to go to school and to graduate. So that's why I'm responding to your message, because what I don't want is you running around saying school don't matter, because it does, especially for Black and brown women and girls. Okay, so let's check there. And for Black and brown women who do go to school, don't let anyone tell you that it's snobby. You're not better than people because you went to school, but what you are is more educated. And that's important. For centuries, for years, they hid education from us. They stole education from us. They refused to let us through the doors. So as long as you have the opportunity to go to school, go. Get as many degrees as you can, and don't stop. And let people who are not in that system call you whatever, because that got nothing to do with you and your goals. And I'm gonna forever be snobby, if that's what that means. Okay, so I think you should take another approach to how you comment on people's content. Think before you say. Oh, and the last thing I want to say too, the average income for a Black woman under the age, between the ages of 21 and 49 without a college degree is $27,000. The average income for a black woman with a college degree from the age of 22 to 52 is almost $45,000, which is still low because there is a pay gap for black women. But when you look at the data and statistics for black women with a professional degree, which is a master's and beyond, the average income for a woman that's 25 to 52 is $75,000. And in fact, black and brown women who have degrees tend to live longer than black and brown women who do not have degrees for a variety of different factors. But one of them is being weatherization on the body, meaning that a lot of women who do not have degrees tend to go into areas where it's a lot of weathering on the body, hard labor, which causes them to, number one, have less access to health resources such as medical insurance, the ability to pay for doctor visits, etc., time, cost, right? All of those things. So that's why I'm a big advocate for education. It's not just to get a degree on the wall, but because it has better life outcomes for black and brown women. So, yeah, you are forever going to see that kind of content on this page. Because my content is for women who champion their own visions. They don't gotta wait for a man to come champion their vision. They don't gotta wait for their sister to come champion their vision, their mama, their daddy, their friend. They champion their own visions. They go out and get it. Okay? And would I would like for them to go and get that via education? Yes. But if they can go get it through entrepreneurship, that's even better. But as long as they are champion their visions with their head held up high, with a little bit of motherfucking confidence and bass in their voice and some cockiness. Yeah, the days are over when y'all tell black women they can't be cocky. Yeah. So that's who I make content for. Let's break the numbers down. So let me let you know that you are not my peer. Let's break it down. You're 23, you graduated with your bachelor's at 22. I graduated my bachelor's at 20 from the Spelman College. Check the books. That's number one. I graduated high school with a 3.7 GPA from one of the best actually, high school in the city of Philadelphia, which is creative and performing arts. It's not Central, y'all. Don't judge me, but I think it's still the best, okay? Yeah, so that's two. I started my career in education as a high school teacher at 21, June 2018. I became a high school teacher. I taught biology for 4.5 years. And while I was teaching during that 4.5 years in 2020, I decided after I graduated from my master's in science education from the University of Pennsylvania that I started in 2018, immediately after I graduated college, right? I graduated in 2020 for my master's in May. By June, I was prepping to go to law school. Started law school in August of 2020. Still was a teacher. I did law school in a full-time job throughout my entire law school career. Yeah. And then I graduated December 2023 from law school. And if you want to backtrack, I started my nonprofit in 2020. I've earned and fundraised solo dolo over $2.5 million with my nonprofit while doing all of that. I just celebrated my 5th year anniversary for our nonprofit, which is Thrive Philly, in June. And this June, we took 17 girls to Turks and Caicos, all expenses paid. And years prior to that, actually the year before that, I paid for a girl's full tuition to go to college myself. Check that. Put that on my resume. Since I've been in education, I've seen at least 11 girls go to Spelman College, and they are matriculating, come hell or high water. Check that. 2 men at Howard. I have a amazing career. I'm above a 6-figure earner, baby. And I'm 29. Just turned 29. Oh, I wanted to add too. I was working at 14. I had my first job at 14. I worked at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's full-time throughout high school, 9th through 12th. My mom had 6 kids. I'm the middle child, the girl. My mom battled a drug addiction my entire childhood, still till this day. Okay? I put myself through high school. Yeah. I worked throughout my entire college years. Never been unemployed since the day I turned 14. Check that. Yeah. You are not my peer. You couldn't run with me even if you tried. Respectfully. That's it. So, you ain't my peer. Not even by a long shot. Not even by a long shot. You got a long ways to go. Long ways to go. We are not peers. And I say that with all due respect. But we are not. We're two black women who both attend an HBCU. But that's where the buck stops. You are not on my level. And that's okay. There are a lot of women in this world who I am nowhere near where they are. There are people who are married. I'm not their peer. They're married women. There's nothing about us that we're not peers. There are people who are mothers. I'm not a mom. I'm not their peer in that regard. There are people who have ran Fortune 500 companies. I'm not their peer as black women. I'm not her peer. So why do you think you are mine? And let me actually bring you guys back to my main point. There are 3 types of people who stay rooted to people who are not in their peer group. They stay in proximity to those people. And I think personally, we should have our eyes open to who those people are. You should pay attention to that. And before I jump into giving you guys this wisdom or giving you guys this foresight, I want to say that it is so important for us as people, specifically women, to go back to our roots and remembering how to size up motherfuckers. That is a lost art. That's a lost skill. Sizing up people is a lost skill. That's a lost skill. And we need to go back to that. But let me jump into the 3 types of people who stay in close proximity to people who are not in their peer group. The first type, okay, is the person who is rooted in community, right? There are a lot of people who are rooted in a community, and no matter how far they get in their socioeconomic status, they're always going to be rooted in their community and in their purpose and where they come from. That's always going to be at the core and center of who they are. And I think it's so important for people who passion and who purpose is of that nature to stay in proximity with people in their community. I stay in close proximity to people in my community. I move and shake in my community. I hang out with people who are from my community. I'm not better than nobody. My business is in North Philadelphia because I'm in proximity to people who walk and talk and breathe like I used to breathe and who breathe and talk like I breathe now. I stay rooted in what I do. So do a lot of other people that I know, right? And I think it's super important for people who purpose that is to stay in close proximity to people in their community, regardless of their own socioeconomic status. Okay, so peer groups, that all matters in certain contexts, in certain rooms. But when it comes to being in close proximity to people in their community, that should always be the norm. With the knowledge that that's your purpose. Because even when you are in close proximity with people who are from where you're from, you need to also know how to size motherfuckers up. Don't be naive. Naivety will be your kryptonite, especially when that's your purpose. Trust and believe me. So that's the first archetype of, people who are staying in proximity to people who are not in their peer group. The second one, I'm going to focus on women, right? And I see this all the time. And a lot of women on here don't understand, too, when they're being marketed to or they're being exploited. There are a lot of women who have far exceeded certain rooms, who have far exceeded certain avenues and pathways. They are above that. But I think a lot of women, and we've seen it with girl boss culture, there are a lot of women in this world who are going back to peer groups that they have far exceeded. not because they want to be rooted in community, like I said earlier, or be rooted to uplifting people and taking them to the next level so they can lift as they climb. That's not what they're in it for. They're in it for exploitation. They know if they can become relatable by going back down to peer groups where they have far exceeded, that they can get you to buy something. They can get you to lean into a trap that they're putting out, their marketing scheme, maybe a conference, maybe some type of product they're trying to sell. Maybe it's something that they are really trying to, garner more visibility within. Because a lot of people realize when they exceed certain peer groups, the rooms get smaller and smaller. And when rooms get smaller and smaller, you got a smaller pool to pull from, resources. And it's harder to network in your peer group when you have elevated, because a lot of people in those higher elevated peer groups can size motherfuckers up before they even get to talking. Because as you do that, you realize a lot of different shit. Because with time comes wisdom, hopefully. And people know wisdom. Wisdom, knowledge, time, that's a currency. And there are people who use it for good and people who use it to exploit. And that's just the game. So that's the second archetype of women. So I always side-eye women who I know who hang out with women who don't, who can't even afford the same things they can afford, but who they consistently surround themselves with. People who always are, marketing as if they still live a certain lifestyle when they don't. They're so far removed because they want to sell somebody something. That's the second archetype, which I respect everybody hustle, but that's a hustle I can never get with, because it's a better way to go about it. The last one is men, right? And that's why I also said I mentioned men at the end of my video, right? Men, I think, are, and it's actually a fourth one too, I try at the end, but men are a dangerous group, especially when they have elevated into higher status in peer groups and visibility. Why they are dangerous, why they are dangerous, I think they're dangerous to young girls, and I think they're dangerous to young women. Why do I think they're dangerous to young girls and young women? Because young girls are exploited in the hood every day by grown-ass men who might got just a little bit more than what they do. But to a young girl from poverty or a young girl who don't got that many means, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot to look up to. Even for a young woman who got a little bit, just a little bit, a man coming around with a lot more dollars than her, that's a lot to look up to. And a lot of people don't have foresight. A lot of people can't size people up, especially men. Men are hard to size up, especially when you're young, dumb, and turnt, and you don't have that many means. So it's easily to be 25 and impressed by a 35-year-old man who own a house, drive a really, really nice car, and got a really, really nice job, and you still live at home with your mama. It's easy to be impressed by a man that's not in your peer group. And that's why I said you got to start measuring men by their peers and not your own. Young woman at 25 looking around their peer group and expecting them to have a car, a Maybach, a Bentley, a Mercedes, own a home, already making six figures. You're judging that boy or that young man by somebody who's not even in their peer group. That was my second point around men, okay? And then the last archetype, which I did not mention, is just women. I think I actually did mention this in my original video about Cardi B. Cardi B is a woman who is still staying in close proximity to where she has come from, but she has far exceeded certain fights and arguments and debates and things like that. I think there's better and more classier ways for her to go about things. And I think because she is still in close proximity to people who are not in her peer group, and those people are in her circle, she can't see beyond that. So she's jaded in a sense. And there are a lot of women like Cardi B who are obviously not famous, but just regular in their professional careers. You hanging around people who, they do things or they have certain behaviors that are dangerous to where you are in life. But you stay in close proximity to them because that's what you know, that's what you're used to. That was the point of my video. Not to make a statement that people with educations are better than people with no education, no formal education. That's not what I was going for. But they go over people's heads because people listen to what they want to listen to. And when you got wisdom that comes with age and experience, You don't just listen to respond. You listen to comprehend, to ingest, to take in. That's what I was trying to say, which I think I clearly articulated in subtext. But people got to learn how to read beyond just the words that come out of people's mouth and listen to subtext as well. That's huge when it comes to literacy. And that's why I tell people all the time, a lot of people think literacy is all about listening and regurgitating what you hear and or just reading on a paper. Literacy is also rooted in comprehension and also looking for subtext. That's super important. And that's it. That's my last gem for tonight. I just came in here to say that I owe nobody humility. Absolutely nobody. You want to know why I owe nobody humility? Because at every turn and every pivot, there is somebody waiting around that corner to humble a black girl, to humble a black woman. When a black girl's in kindergarten, she's being humbled. Not only by her teachers, by her peers, by everybody, the bus school driver, everybody. When she's in middle school, she's being humbled. High school, she's being humbled. At home, she's being humbled. Told she's too grown, she's too sassy, she's too loud. Was she too sassy, too loud, or too grown, or was she advocating for herself? At every turn and every pivot, a black woman and black girl is being humbled. I don't owe nobody humility. Actually, what I do owe this world, specifically black women and black girls, is a model for how you show up for yourself and how you own your words, how you own your testimonies, how you own your pathway, how you own your growth, how you own your name, and how you own and demand respect. That's what I owe this world. Why should I be humble? So that you can feel better about what you hear out of my mouth. Life too short. I'm not in this world to give y'all half of me. That's not God's plan for me. God's plan for me is to walk by faith and not by sight, and to share my testimonies. Not to be humble, because people's definition of humble is actually not God's work. And this is on a Christian page, so I ain't gonna go too deep, but y'all's version of humble is not God's work. Y'all version of humble is for people to silence their testimonies so that you can be more comfortable in whatever fight you're going through. But I'm an overcomer. And God put it on my heart to always share how I am an overcomer and how I am resilient and I will prevail forward. And I got the confidence to know that I walk by faith and not by sight. So I'm never going to be humble. Because I don't walk by fear. Can't nobody take something from me because I'm not humble. Can't nobody steal nothing from me because I'm not humble. I'm God's child. And that's what I owe every black woman and girl, so they can see a model, an example, a testimony. So they can see somebody that look like them, talk like them, walk like them, from where they from, and talk how I talk, as confident as I do, and decide one day they could do it too. That's called a testimony. And I challenge you to do it too. This is a great question. What's the difference between a peer and a friend? Well, let me give you my 2 cents, okay? So a peer is somebody who is equal to you in age, status, role, and or experience, okay? You don't choose who those people are. You don't choose who they are. But your friends, you choose them, right? And your friends can be people who you may have went to college, and none of your friends probably went to college, right? Like, your peers can be anybody. You could be 22 and your best friend could be a 65-year-old Italian lady from the Bronx. Like, you choose your friends. Your friends can be a myriad of different people from different backgrounds, different walks, different pathways. But your peer group, you don't choose that. You don't choose that at all. And that's the difference between a peer and a friend group. Now, can your peers also be your friends? Yes. Can your friends also be your peers? Yes. Yes. But though they are not the same in terms of like definitions, because you may have friends who are not your peers, but they are your friends, but they are not your peers. And it's important for you to recognize that, because your friends are not, so that's another thing. Sometimes your friends are not a part of your network, your professional network, And that's okay. And sometimes they are. But if you start conflating your friends with also being a part of your professional network, and your friends have not even obtained the same role, experience, status, whatever, as you, then technically they're not in your network. They're just your friends. And friends also come with an emotional connection, support. They tend to not be temporary. Your peers tend to be temporary because as you move up, your peer group changes. As you age, your peer group changes, And as you fluctuate between peer groups, you change. Those peers change. My college mates are not my peers. Some of them are not my peers, right? Like, we have developed far in between each other. Like, we all have different pathways. So that's the difference between a peer and a friend. Can they be synonymous? Yes. And sometimes they aren't. And that's okay. I think a healthy friend group are people who are from different pathways and different walks of life and are at different peer levels. I think that's a really healthy friend group. I think if all of your friends are your peers and you guys all have like high social markers, that's an elitist group. And I feel like that's a little problematic. I think that's elitism. Is elitism all bad? No. But I think your friend group should not be all of your peers. Now, it's okay for your professional network to be all of your peers, but not your friend group. And then I will also argue to say that your professional network should not be all of your peers, because you should also be networking across, networking down, right, and networking up, above your peer group, below your peer group, and in your peer group. So, yeah, my random thoughts here on October 13th, 11:43.
Y'all, I'm not going to even lie, and I want y'all to let me know this in the comments. I personally feel like she's speaking on classism. Not peer groups, because what the heck is the judge talking about, or is the law talking about when they said you're going to be judged by a jury member of your peers? Like, they be all ages and stuff, right? All ages, all different walks of life, but they're your peers. So she kind of lost me on that. I think I understood where she was trying to go, but at the same time, we can't be rewriting words and stuff like that, man. And let me tell you why. Because I don't want to have to do that in court, even though I'm probably going to have to do it anyway. But please, just let's just stick as much as we can, because the Webster dictionary is changing all the time. Words that weren't words become words, like y'all and stuff like that. I need y'all to just relax. I understood what she was trying to do. I think it's unfortunate that people saw what she did was considered a flex when I didn't, because that accomplishment that young lady did was an amazing accomplishment, just like the accomplishment she did was amazing. Are you guys peers? It depends on, what age y'all are, the interests you guys have, as well as the status, right? Billionaires are peers of each other because they're billionaires, but so are moms, so are whatever. Like, for example, she was an attorney, right? At one point, an attorney is a court reporter's peer. So, it just, you gotta really know it's really a classism peer group that she's discussing and she's talking about as far as being a peer, because, I feel like she was on like defense mode because of, I guess, how the lady was saying, you shouldn't do that or say certain things that you're supposed to say because it comes off as being snobby or whatever the case to certain people. It may become snobby, and may become not. People may agree with you, but at the end of the day, I think she's misdefining the term peer. There's different forms of being a peer, yes, but if you, when again, the only thing that makes sense to me about this situation is if I bring it up legally, like you are going to be judged by a jury of your peers. They say that she's an attorney, or I don't know if she still practices or whatever, but I know she does a lot of things for the kids and community and stuff. But she knew when she was practicing, that's what it says, because that ain't changed. So by that definition, what you're saying, you talk about something else. And the only thing that I could think that sounds identical to what she's talking about or what she's trying to say is classism. A lot of people don't want to hang out with people who don't have as much money as them. And it's not because they whack or they lame or they're poor. You identify majority of the time the person who you're on the social stature with for a lot of reasons. Now, because somebody with less than money or less social status be on the same level as you mentally, sometimes, depending, and it could be an upcoming person. But if you're hanging out with somebody, like she stated, like people in your community and stuff like that, and she didn't say the rest of this, I'm ad-libbing this. I'm just bringing about the part where she said, hang out with your community, all that stuff. If you are, and you hanging out, like let's say, for example, celebrities and people who are fans or supporters or whatever you want to call them, she can very well vibe with somebody that is like a celebrity, can very well vibe with somebody that is considered a fan and don't have as much money as them and don't ask them for anything and be amazing friends. But eventually, when you hang out with somebody so long, either you're going to get on their level and do something of your own stature to where y'all could be cool and y'all both successful, or you guys fall out because the energy's not matching. So that's what happens with a lot of people with social status is people with money be afraid of people with no money asking them for money. And that may not always be the case. People might have integrity to not ask you for money. But if you are like, for example, the situation with what's that light skinned big head girl name? I don't know why I want to call her Bianca. Anyway, every 6 to 7 business days she go viral for some dumb shit she say. What is her name? Let's see. Anyway, she's a social media comedian or something, whatever. Y'all know who I'm talking about. She was the one who was like Jesus when her homegirl was telling her about how she felt like it, when she was struggling, she was looking at her friend and her friend was helping everybody else out by her, and she felt some type of way about it. Um, once she went to a different class, the conversations is different. And usually when you go through, when you have a conversation with somebody who's in a different class or a different status, the conversations in the room are different. That doesn't mean you're better than anybody. That just means that whatever conversation I can have a conversation with you, but it probably won't be the same conversation I have with this person next to me who is more on my social level. Okay. And it's a difference of conversation, if that makes sense. I hope I'm saying it correctly, because I don't know how she was trying to come across, but what I'm trying to explain is I think she was discussing how classism works. And then I don't even want to use the term classism, because classism usually be like people don't deal with other people who are not as wealthy as them or as educated or their certain lifestyle. They kind of X them out and have their own little cliques. So I'm not trying to say that she's doing that, but I think that she was just discussing that. But the behavior of her kind of, in my opinion, discrediting what the other young lady has done, as far as, well, not even discrediting, just comparing, to let her know that she's not her peer, gave classism. That's what it gave me, because I don't know a lot of people who got their bachelor's at 20, 21, or 22. So in your 20s anyway at HBCU, I think that is great. And I think it is identical what she did, except for she was like a year or two younger. So it's just not, it's like, it wasn't like she was like, I don't have my high school diploma. If she would have said, I don't even have my high school diploma, I never graduated, then I could understand why she would say something like but I don't know. It came off like it was on a competitive note, because she was offended by, and here's another thing with text. You don't know how a person is coming off or what a person is saying. And the person deleted their comment because they didn't want to, I guess, go back and forth, and whatever they were trying to convey to her, she didn't receive, because it just caused what that caused. And then it's like it. This is why I feel like we're never going to beat the allegations, because we're not kind to each other. We are not kind to each other. We're not. There's a couple of women, you can have a conversation and you can question something, they snapping your neck off because I don't know if they expect you to know or whatever the case may be. Now, sometimes a person can come off as being like wrong or whatever, but she told the girl, I still respect you, I still follow you, I just have my little 2 cents or whatever. And the other chick showed she just couldn't care less. So she said what she said. And when you come off like that, and when you have these conversations and you call yourself trying to check somebody, right? And because of your level of intelligence that you carry, we don't want to hear we two woman. What she say? Two women's. What, we two women's? Is that what she said? Like, if you gonna come off like you so educated and all that stuff, we don't want to hear that either. That could be accent, that could be where you from, or the talking points on how you talk or whatever. I tell y'all, I mess up on my words all the time because my voice slurs a lot, because I'm trying to get to 240. See, look, 30, 240 words per minute. But my mouth keeps slurring, so I'm gonna have to train my tongue. For those who don't know how to do it, you just take a pencil, start talking. I got to do all of that. You can take a pencil or a pen and do that. Anyways, regardless of the fact, so it's a little different when you're trying to come off as a like, oh yeah, I know you're not my peer because you graduated this time and I did this and I did that. That don't, I mean, us being, y'all both being black women is considered her being a peer, a peer of black women. Like, I don't know, I don't get it. I need an adult. So I don't know. I just, y'all can let me know what y'all think. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. But from what, oh my God, child the ghetto, get it out, girl, get it out. From what my understanding is like the screenshot I just posted a few minutes ago describing peers, age group, interest, social status as well could be a part of it. But you can't tell somebody that they're not your peer, and like, and then you can't tell somebody you're not their peer and then describe what a peer is, because honestly, y'all had the same interest. The same interest will be both of y'all attended a HBCU. And then it would trip me out more than anything, y'all, is when I looked at the comments and I seen everybody in the comments, yes, girl, that's how you clock that T. That's how you check somebody. That's how you let them know. And I'm like, it take 5 seconds to Google. It take 5 seconds to get on the internet and type in, what is the definition of peer? Or go look it up in the Webster dictionary. What is the definition of peer? Look for peer and see the definition of it. The definition does not talk about your accomplishments as you being the which determines if somebody your peer is your peer or not. That's like that's a social status. That's classism. You're a part of a certain class. Her doing the things she doing, being a billionaire or what? Not a billionaire. She ain't never said nothing about no billionaire. I said something about billionaires, and I don't know. Don't give me the line. But her saying her accomplishments don't compare to her accomplishments is crazy. A person who would not be her peer would have to be like, it's really difficult actually to narrow it down about who's not her peer. An animal. Because if you really, really, really think about it, depending on what it is, you're gonna be a person's peer. Like, again, if she was on the jury and there was a 68-year-old man on there, 68-year-old white man on there, that's her peer. because their interest is the same, which is the jury, being in the jury. You know what I'm saying? Say breathing, hell. It's just you can't really win with that. So I really the conversation kind of ended there because a lot of people agreed with her. I didn't really see anybody go against what she was talking about. But like I said, now as far as the proximity, as far as friends go, that's a little different conversation in my opinion. That's a different conversation because friends do become your friends do become the proximity of where you are. And when you do level up on a social status, if they're still where they're at, it's really difficult to continue to be friends with that person. When your interests change, when your interests change, like you can't really kick with somebody who still, like, if you hung out back in the day and y'all were younger and y'all was out doing the most and doing a lot of illegal activities, and that person changed their life and decided they weren't going to do it no more, they still can't hang out if that person is still on the same bull. But that does not mean that person is not their peer. That means the proximity of them living close to each other made them friends. But once that person who no longer wants to do illegal activity has leveled up, got education, and moved and grew up, and he can no longer hang out with them because their interests are different. But it still does not X them out of being peers, because again, let's say he ended up being a part of the jury, he's going to judge his peer if he's convicted or not. You know what I'm saying? So I hope I put that together, because I went all the way to France to go to Guam to come back here to put that together. So I don't even know how anybody would not be her peer. You get what I'm saying? Like, that lady that you was talking to was a black woman. Y'all both went to a HBCU. Y'all peers based on that fact. Like, come on with me now. But I get what she was trying to say. Because we go back to the being friends. You can't. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people I grew up with. Y'all grew up with that be on your social media, on your Facebook. Y'all have nothing in common anymore. Y'all don't know each other from whatever, unless you guys still have the same interest, and a lot of times you don't. It's a lot of people that you grew up with in school that you hung out with, and then when you became adults, you didn't even want to be on a Facebook list. You done block them, you done unfriend them. I done fell out with quite a few people, because it's like the energy, or just not even fall out, just don't even speak to them anymore, because the energy is not the same anymore. It's not, we're not little kids anymore. So as an adult, you're gonna have different mindsets and stuff like that. So people change, plans change, people are different after a certain amount of time. So yeah, that's why it's so cool to see people who grow up together and are still friends, because they kept the same ideologies. But but then you see the other people who grew up and they grew apart. They don't no longer carry the same ideologies they did back then. So that's the proximity. As far as the proximity and friendship thing, I totally agree with, because your friends change when your interests change. You get what I'm saying? So if you, even with YouTube, some of the topics that I speak about, I don't have I have particular certain subscribers for certain topics. I have people who likes my vlog channel. I have people who likes my commentary on this subject, on that subject. They're different subjects, and there's people that will come for that specific subject and keep it moving, and that's cool too. There's people who will come and want to speak about this specific subject, and then another person won't want to speak about this subject. So I feel like it is. I feel like that's what it is. Like, nobody's gonna always, it's a proximity of what they can watch online that they're interested in. But again, that does not mean we're not peers. That just means, they chose to no longer participate in whatever video because they're not interested in it. Their interests change, but it does not change that we're still peers. I hope that made sense, because I definitely said that multiple ways. And I feel like the more I'm talking, the more I'm confusing myself. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Do you think that lady came on the other lady too hard? Do you think she is right about the definition of what a peer is? Do you feel like that woman was or was not her peer? I really want to hear y'all take on it. Because immediately when she said that, I got confused. Like the how it, so if you getting judged, like who is it? I mean, if you go to court, like young Thug was judged by a jury of his peers, and it was all types of ages and ethnic backgrounds and stuff and cultural backgrounds that helped judge him, that made them peers. None of them people in there was rappers. You know what I'm saying? None of those people, I don't know their finances, but I doubt they was, balling out of control to take time to do all of that. You get what I'm saying? So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. At this point, I'm beating a dead horse. I'm out.
We in a no hyena zone. Anti-hyena zone. It's my hyena zone.